have so much like corporate music on that service where it's like we're a multinational corporation that are trying to redeem our image after having done something awful. It's like that exact tone really well.
Oh, God.
We care about the Pelicans. And it's like
I'm like, stop, shut up. No.
Okay, cool. Well, then, hello, audience, and welcome to Behind the Locked Doors. I don't know. Actually, I was going to say not progress addiction, but that's only me. So, but anyway, I am Scott Paladin.
I'm Sam Stark.
I'm Jack Skellington. It feels weird not to say a last name. I think I'm just going to say a different goofy last name every week.
You can always make up a last name, you know, like just.
I thought you were going to say Jacksepticeye, like I was ready for that.
Maybe I will next time. You don't know.
Okay, so let's talk about progress. I have basically done nothing since the last 2 weeks in terms of my projects for this because I've been deep underwater on the Breathing Space finale. So that which is going. I finished the rough cut of the finale parts 1 and 2 because it's a 4 fucking part finale.
Surprise everyone! It's going to be a 4-part finale, which is.
Or not surprise. You know.
Twice as many parts as we thought there were going to be.
It's all good. Yeah. So I finished that rough cut last night, and then
good job.
In order to keep my goal over the last 2 weeks has been to keep my project at like in my mind, so I wasn't just like forgetting about it. And in an effort to do that, I've been rereading the stuff that I wrote previously and just like living in it a little bit. And then also people on the Discord will have seen I made a little thread of weird little guys, just like making up weird little guys to put in the story.
I love your little guys.
It's one of those things where it's like that's the kind of thing where sometimes you just like, oh, I need like a person to happen before we go to this next thing or a guy to talk to. And it's nice to have just like a list of like of ideas that have been floating around and stuff. So that's where I'm at. How are y'all doing?
How are we doing, Sam?
I have not done anything in regarding Salmon West.
As in West.
Salmon West? I did it again. Salmon West.
Sam and West.
Salmon West.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Just talking to myself the whole time. No, as in West. Full disclosure, I've been having some pretty serious health problems.
I hate that for you.
Yeah, I have been in a lot of pain, like a lot of pain, and I still have to do all of the, actual job things that I have to do. So I have an audiobook that I'm doing.
Yeah, you got a triage.
Yeah, the audiobook that I'm doing is so good, and it is such a wonderful like piece of, it's a piece of art, and it has a wonderful non-binary, neurodivergent main character. So the whole it's not first person, but the whole thing is very, very much through their perspective. And so a lot of the way that it's written is it trips my mouth up. Like I'll read passages where I'm like, wait, no, that made sense. Why can't my mouth say that? And there are massive amounts of science words that I know how they're supposed to sound, but I have to say them like 10 times.
Yeah.
So that's been taking up most of my brain matter, I guess. But the rest of it has been going to the clinic and getting ready for surgery and all that kind of stuff. So I just basically am trying to survive.
That's completely fair. Sometimes that's the way it be.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about your medical troubles, but on my end, I had this giant art fair that I was tabling at last weekend, and so the last 2 weeks have been frantically preparing for that, and then this week recovering from that. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, so we don't really have anything to talk about with the projects then, but there is some more general podcast back matter kind of stuff that we could talk about, which. It's one of those hard lessons I learned the hard way that I would love to impart upon anybody else who's thinking about starting something like a podcast or really any kind of
having domains collected all in one place.
Yeah, well, and really this is something I wish I'd done a long time ago in regards to just generalized online content creation and stuff, because I've got I've dabbled in a bunch of different things, but like I wish that I had created Library of Cursed Knowledge like probably in 2014, basically. If I could have had that name and the ability, like set up a website for it and buy domains and stuff. Instead, I like was like, oh well, when I want to make a podcast, I was like, I'll just buy a domain for my podcast and it'll be under this. And that's the domain that we used in like every outro for all whatever 100 episodes or whatever we did for Monster Mechanics. And like now I'm looking at it and I'm like, I am never going to touch this domain again. I don't want to like mess with it. It costs me money. There is a really good argument for like, oh yeah, if that had been monsterpod.library.horse, our like main domain, then it's essentially free because I'm going to pay for that for the foreseeable future. So if you are thinking about going into creating online stuff, having a brand you can use for that you want to use as an envelope is maybe a really good first step. It's one of those things that like it'd be. I wish I'd done it that way, where I had created the network first, and I could have been using it for YouTube and stuff. God, my YouTube account, like I've got less than 200 followers, so it's not like a big account, but it's got content on it, and it's my personal YouTube account. Like it's the one that I use to like watch shit. It's like not like a brand account at all, which is so stupid.
Oh my god.
If I ever like,
but like, how are you to know you were gonna need like a brand specific YouTube?
Exactly. So it's like it's one of those things. Like just creating those accounts, it takes a little bit of time and like the ability to commit to something. Although that being said, committing to a name for your shit is a good idea. It might be a good idea to pick something you can properly pronounce under your normal accent. Library is one of those words that in my accent, I recognize that I have a like a Sunbelt city accent, which is not a very hard Texan accent, but there's there. And it's library with me, library with like, library. Yeah, there's only one R in there if I say it quickly, which is like, I want to do it right. So like I got to stop every time I want to say the name of Library of Cursed Knowledge. I got to consciously add that R back in there.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pro tip.
That's actually
listeners.
how my best friend said it too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not uncommon and it's fine. It slips under the radar if it's a casual thing. But whenever I'm doing the announcements at the end, it's like, this is a Library of Cursed Knowledge production. And it's like, oh crap.
I have to really think hard about saying library.
I do like the library branding though, because it means that like in the Discord, everything's like librarians and stuff. I can I don't know. It's fun. It's a good.
That's easy to brand around.
It's a good one.
That's a good choice.
I need to like. I think I probably am just gonna. I've made a new logo for this podcast a while back. I think I'm just gonna.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah. And I have one. I ended up with one for the network too. I need to like put those on more things. Although here's a quick opinion on the one for the new one. Is it too green? The color scheme.
Too green.
Let me look at it.
Here we go.
Library.horse.
This is great radio.
Yeah. Everybody looking at stuff with their eyes.
If you go to library.horse, www.library.horse, okay, so on this monitor, it doesn't look nearly so green to me. Maybe it's a monitor.
It doesn't look green on here either.
Okay.
It looks kind of like a warm amber color.
Okay. I think it's the monitor I have at work is maybe just the colors off. But every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that looks like green now. And it's supposed to be sort of just a warm tone.
Yeah, no, it looks like a warm tone to me. Okay. I think maybe it's the monitor that's the issue and not the actual
Perfect radio content, guys.
I can describe what I'm looking at if you would like.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's a logo for Behind the Locked Doors that has like a stylized padlock on it and a nice font. It says Behind the Locked Doors, and it's on this like sort of warm amber colored background. And apparently on some monitors that warm amber background is green for some reason. Yeah. It's not on my screen.
Mine's got the green effect.
I think
it does? Oh,
I think if I just shift that shadow color, because there's like it's a kind of a classic 3-tone thing where you've got one light, one shadow, one mid. And if I think there's some green in that shadow color, I think it could be fixed.
Yeah.
Relatively easy.
It looks good though, even though it's got green. There's nothing wrong
it's
with
really
green.
sharp looking.
You can almost not always. You can pretty quickly just see when Scott designed a logo because it's how much fucked upness or like how much dirt and grime did I throw over the top of it? Because I always actually this is a good tip for people who are out there like making a logo for your website.
Yes. True.
You want something, especially with podcast logos, they need to be fucking bold. Detail is your enemy with a podcast logo because
you can't see shit at a small size.
Yeah, you open up your podcatcher and you see like all of the various icons for everything, and each one of those icons is going to be like 42 by 42 pixels. It's going to be just the teeniest, tiniest little thing. So you want something that can be identified. But occasionally, like when somebody is playing your podcast, it will be larger. Or if they like open up your website and they see the logo really big. So you want to add textures into it rather than details into the design. So a big simple design, and then you put a paper texture over the top of it, or you put some grunge, or you put like little like, you know, basically that's what you want to work with it, is like textures and like flaws, little things like that, paper things, make it look like it's made out of something like substances or whatever, because that will all disappear when it gets shrunk down and it won't interfere with the overall design. But then when you make it big, it looks like you're looking at an object instead of just like flat color. And it works really well.
Yeah, like a JPEG, like made large.
I won't call out anybody else's podcasts particularly, but I see a bunch of audio drama podcasts, and they seem like they're worse about it than everybody else. Where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna pay an artist a lot of money, or like we're gonna spend a lot of time and effort into making this beautiful podcast logo with like a handwritten font and like." All this stuff going on, and then I'm like,
tons of detail.
It looks beautiful, and then like I know that when it gets shrunk down, it's just like a little bit of mud, basically. And I'm like, I feel so bad for y'all.
A little square of mud.
Yeah, like you should just cut it down to the least amount of information possible, and then you can claw that back somewhere, some other way or whatever.
If you want to do like the beautiful artwork, blah blah blah, for like your website or whatever, you should get a logo that has like, you know, a bigger picture type of a thing, and then your teeny tiny little logo that goes on like your Spotify or whatever can be like a piece of that beautiful artwork.
Yes.
Because then it's like you click on the thing and it opens up to this like bigger, you know, the more context type of a thing. Because I see a couple people that that have been doing podcasts for a long time. They do that.
Well, there's also a version of it that I really like, which I'm not good enough to pull off, but which is like you make a logo out of smaller objects or drawings or whatever. So like from a far distance, it just looks like a symbol or whatever. And then you zoom in, and then all of the details of what is made up out of. So like I think I saw one. It was like it looked like a skull, but when you look into it, it's like plants and leaves and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, that looks fucking rad when it's big, and then when it's small, it's still readable. Because like anything else on the internet, like you need an image that is like it needs to pop whenever anybody sees it, and like a tiny little thing on their as they scroll by on their Twitter or whatever.
It has to be almost like an like iconographic tiny little image.
Yep.
So that it can be read at a quick speed at a small size.
Yeah. And like simple color schemes, I think, also work really well for like icon and logo and stuff. And like, it's there's a whole we could talk ad nauseum about this stuff. But you just want like honestly, I think my Unspeakable Distance logo, which is on that same page if you want to see it, is probably not good by my own standards.
Wait, I haven't seen this one in a minute. Let me look at it.
It's the astronaut one where it's all
right.
Oh yeah,
which I think is rad at a big size.
Yeah, it is, and that's how I designed it. And I got to the end of it, and I was like, oh, this doesn't read when it's small. I'll just put the text real big on there and see if we can get away with it.
I mean that works. It does. When I'm clicking on it on whatever podcast thing I'm on, you can read the Unspeakable Distance words.
Yes.
And then when you click on it, then you're like, oh, it's a picture. So that I think it kind of works.
I would have put a symbol on it if I'd had more time, but you know, that's the kind of thing where it was like that project lived and died by how much investment we each had to put into it. Like if anybody had to do anything too much, it was not going to happen. So I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Yes. It's like, I'm going to slap this up on the internet, and we're doing it live. We're doing it right now.
That logo was really fun because part of it was like literally opening up a JPEG in a hex editor and like fucking around with it and like taking parts out and like rearranging it to like make it more fucked up. I love that so much.
I love that.
I got to do that with we talked the other day about using PDF file or using various files as audio format. And I got to do that for the Breathing Space finale, and one of them I included literally. Do you remember the image of the challenge coin that like the after Long Way Home from series.
Yes.
That Blender file, I was like, I wonder what this sounds like if I open it up. And I opened it up and it was like all this beautiful electronic glitching noises. And I'm like, oh
my God.
a rich feast for me. So all of that audio from that you'll hear in the finale, all of the glitches and stuff you'll hear over at one part for one scene, is all just that one file being like, ooh, here's a little part of it where it's all like, and I'm like,
it's a tasty little snack.
I love that so much. It makes me happy. Like
it's so good.
Yeah. I should come up with a project.
I'm so
that
delighted.
Me do it more.
Yeah, I'm so delighted that it worked out that we could give you one last little snack to do for that in the finale, because it was sick the first time you did it in the show, and it's extremely cool to see it one more time before the show is over.
Yeah. We definitely did a lot of like, let's bring back stuff that we can, where we can, bring back concepts and ideas.
Which is like, the time to do it if you're gonna like bring back do a bunch of callbacks
and also reveal the giant webbed headcanon that we have behind the scenes for how all of the stories were connected. Because like
right.
I think 30%, maybe more, maybe up to half of the scenes like involve some sort of, these two characters from two completely separate things know each other now. It's like that's like the whole thing of the finale.
But I love that because it is like we told a bunch of stories ranging very far over the whole system, and then seeing the threads like come together at the end and be like, oh, well, it is just sort of like, this has become a community in a real way. Like, even though the system is large, these people have all found each other and become a family.
And like, we probably should. That's one of those things where like the creativity of the writers and like the enthusiasm people have behind the scenes is like where like that's when it gets that's the kind of thing that feeds that like, oh, let's figure this out, like, and then both people get excited and they're like, oh yeah, like, well, what if this person was this person's nephew, like what if this, and then like and then you're like, we have a monster file. We should probably render that out, the giant connections web at some point.
I know. I want fans to be able to look at that with their eyeballs because it's bonkers. Yeah. Like it's so big.
It's so big that
it's
like
impossible to read.
Yeah. like you can't. I haven't been able to like take a screenshot of it and put that anywhere where you could actually read it. You have like it only exists in whatever. I always forget what program we used for it, but it's this huge mind map of just like every character as of season 3, maybe some of season 4.
Yeah, I don't think season 4 is fully on there, but it is huge. Yeah. It is like you have to zoom so far in to read it.
Yeah, but that's fun. Yeah, it'll be. Man, I will say, once I'm done with editing, I might just like have to take a break, like fully offline.
Yeah, you
for
will
a minute.
Deserve one.
So you all might get a chance to do a podcast without me very soon if that's how it goes. But yeah,
Scott's like, I can't be near a microphone right now. I gotta go.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't even like been.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's just a lot going on.
We'll do a couple episodes with guests.
We'll figure it out.
We'll get Mike on the phone.
Me for this stuff. Yeah. So, well, on that note, do we want to set any goals for the next 2 weeks, or is it just keep our heads above water?
I think for the month of September, let's say we've got our other shit we're working on. Yeah. We're not going to stress, at least I think for me and Sam, we're not going to stress about As in West right now. We will dig back into it when Sam is feeling well and when the breathing space stuff is done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. That sounds
perfect.
Great.
I'm on my tone. I'm going to keep my goal from the previous thing, which is just not to let It Takes a Wolf
not forget about it.
Yeah, like I have to do something to keep it in mind. I don't have to be like I don't have to produce anything. I just have to be like not forgetting about it. That's my only goal, which I think is a pretty meager
no, that
think
makes
about
sense,
it, make some random people do some stuff. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, we will.
Means it's still in your brain.
Yeah, we'll catch y'all in a couple of weeks, and have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Behind the Locked Doors, a library of cursed knowledge production podcast thing. I don't know. If you are interested in any of these projects, you can head over to library.horse, which will eventually redirect to a webpage once I make it, If you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/cursed knowledge. See y'all next week. No, wait. See y'all in 2 weeks.